Flash CPR is a new feature in GIPSCAM version 7.3. It is an OpenGL based rendering option, non-view dependent, which allows us to, for example, rotate the part, or we can pan it while we are rendering without refreshing or start over again. We can zoom in or out. Flash CPR is activated or deactivated by clicking on our render button, right click render, selecting Flash CPR, and then open up our Flash CPR. Right-clicking on the render control bar gives us several selections and options in a drop-down menu. Set up stop number, use of stop number, show time, or show operation number are still the same as they are in our traditional CPR. Analyze cut is grayed out at the moment. We will explain a little later how that works. Transparent stock is it basically simply what it says. It shows the stock transparent. Let's click on that. And here we are. Our stock is shown transparent. Basically, we can look through our stock. Again, right click on the render control bar. Let's see what transparent fixture shows us. Basically the same thing. It will show us our fixture, in this case a vise, in transparent view. And here we are again, it starts rendering. Right click again on render control. Rapid cut will render the part without showing any cutting or any tool. It will give us the rendered state at the end of our rendering process. It processes the rendering a lot faster and shows us the finished rendering part. Now that we have a finished rendered part, let's see what our analyze cut part does. Before we go there, we have to select the stock. We deselect Flash CPR. We select the stock and switch on Flash CPR again. Right click again on our menu bar. Now you see Analyze Cut is active. Let's click on it. Here we have now 3 different options. Let's start with the top, undercuts on part body. Let's click on the radio button and click on Show. Here we see now little dots. That means, okay, here we are tiny undercuts on our part body. Undercuts on cut part. Let's select that. Let's click on Show. Here in those red areas we have undercuts on the cut part. And the third option, remaining material. Click on Show. Now here the blue area shows where we have material remaining or material left. Click Cancel. Skip packs skips our pegs when we in any drilling operation. In this case it did not do our pegs and our drilling in the center of the part. Skip unselected ops. Let's select one of the operations and start the last operation. And it ignores the previous two operations, the drilling and the roughing. Set CPR stock equals target. To view or select set CPR stock equals target, we first need to select a stock as we did before. We stop Flash CPR, select the body, select Flash CPR again, right click on our menu bar. Now set CPR stock equals target is active. We click on that. This will now show us the body and not the stock. Finish body. We can start rendering, so the tool basically starts rendering on the body that we had selected. Collision checking is another option that can be selected. It needs special settings later on in preferences. We will talk about it a little later. Save to STL will save the current stock results to disk in STL format. Preferences. Let's talk about the part settings. Time slice specifies the amount of time the system will allocate for interruptions when rendering. Larger values will increase rendering speed but decrease system responsiveness. Step per update specifies the maximum number of CPR features to render before updating the display. Large numbers will increase the rendering speed but will result in a rougher rendering animation. Facet Resolutions is the resolution for tools displayed in CPR, and there are separate settings for inch and metric. The smaller the value, the higher quality of the display and the more resources needed by the system, resulting in a slower rendering. The items found in collision section of the dialog provide control over how the system reports machining errors while rendering. Any combination of the three available methods may be used. The beep option provides an audible alert. Log to display will output an error in a collision log window, and stock flash provides a visual alert to the error by flashing the rendered stock. The tolerance allows a different value for metric and inch parts. Any gouge beyond the specified tolerance will generate a collision alert. Clicking the display checkbox box widens the rendering preferences dialog to display options for controlling the display of the Flash CPR model. Statistics opens a window that logs the current frame rate for your machine as well as any logged errors for the CPR session. Gradient background switches the standard black workspace to a white-blue gradient, making it easier for you to distinguish between standard rendering and the OpenGL rendering modes, which may be slower. The model is lit up by up to 4 lights, and you can control the direction by setting the X, Y, and Z position or by dragging the light across the preview. Just like that. as you can see. You can also change the color of the light just by clicking on one of the color buttons. Let's select yellow, and here we have a different light color. You may control the display of the part's material by controlling its specular, ambient light, and shininess values. The specular value is the color of the reflections. The ambient value is the non-directional illumination of the part. You can select the color or define the RGB values for the specular and ambient attributes. Shininess is the overall reflectivity of an object. It is a value from 0 to 255. The items in the color tabs allow you to define the color of the various items displayed by Flash CPR. You may change the default color of rendered objects by setting the RGB values or by clicking on the appropriate color button and selecting a color. Click Apply. It's going to reset our stock to yellow. We can try the same thing with the fixture. It should be, in this case, our vise. Set it to blue and click Apply, and we'll change the color of our vise to blue. We of course have the choice of any of those selections: stock, target, fixture, operation, clash, tool, shank, and edge. The items in the background tab allow you to define the colors of the cut part rendered background. Both the single color background and the gradient background may be customized. The gradient consists of up to 4 colors, 1 per corner of the workspace. Let's try 1 or 2. Let's make this a gray. Now over here in that corner the color has changed. Gradient number 3. Let's make this a light blue. Now over here we have a color change. Now let's reset it to our default. And there we go again. We reset everything to our default colors and default settings in part, collision, and our display.